Okay, St. George 70.3 in 2021. It's about time we get back to racing. Here we go. So this is the typical Ironman race day, race week schedule. I would just, as early as you can, do that athlete check-in as soon as you can. It's going to be super critical. It will just help alleviate some of that. Um, they are saying it's by appointment only, so make sure you check your email when they send it to you. That should come to you the week before the race, maybe a little bit sooner or later, but just keep an eye out for that. They're also going to do that for the swim. So there's going to be a couple different things that you will have to do in that email. So make sure you do not miss that one. It's going to be super critical. And again, there you can get everything done. They're going to do athlete briefings online this year. So make sure you don't miss those. It is probably, I don't think they'll do an in-person one this year, so they'll be doing all the virtual questions through there. So that'll be where you get immediate race updates and things like that. If they don't email them to you, they will put them in those the online race briefings. You'll see on Friday there is no virtual athlete briefing. I'm sure that will change as it gets closer, but as of right now, this is the only one. So make sure you don't miss the briefing. Okay, so race day, Saturday. There's an athlete shuttle from 4:20 to 6. There's also an age group rolling swim starts. That's what I just talked about with the email that they're going to send to you. They also say that you're going to be self-seated. They say that you're going to be sent an email where you select your times to start. So I don't know what exactly it's going to be, but just keep an eye out for something before. And if it's not, I would assume you'd sign up at the athlete check-in out on race day. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, pretty much the rest is is pretty straightforward here, but those are the big things there, the shuttle and the swim start. So this is the athlete check-in. It tells you when. New in 2021, you got to wear a face mask. So you're just going to be face masked up pretty much anytime you're on the race premises. Otherwise, you'll face, I don't know if it's disqualification, but you'll definitely face a penalty if not more. So just keep that in the back of your head. All race packets must be picked up by 4 p.m. on Friday. So Friday's the last day to check in, as we just talked about the day or the slide before this one. Got to bring your passport, got to bring your registration QR code from active.com. Pretty much standard nowadays. Face masks, QR codes, health screening, and yeah, pretty self-explanatory nowadays. Check-in steps are listed right there, but again, this is pretty much standard procedure right now, so make sure you do pick up your timing chip. Second part of athlete check-in, this is what you need to bring, or what your packet will include. It's going to include all the stickers, the wristbands, the morning clothes bags. It's going to include all that stuff. So just make sure you double check it before you leave, so there's no guessing out when you bring everything back home, and you don't panic and just have something else on your list when you could have just checked your bag right there. So make sure you check it. Make sure you got your stickers. This is the address for the race. Sand Hollow State Park, Hurricane, Utah, 84737 zip code. The transition to and the finish line is in a different spot, so just keep that in mind as you plan things out here. It's a 2-spot course, so that is why the shuttle system becomes really important on race morning. So get there early. If they do put up times for you to do athlete check-in earlier or later, just sign up for whatever you think is going to be able to give you enough time to get all your stuff done race morning and then still get to the race start and get into a solid position. Excuse me. So the swimming over at the state park entrance is allowed. Swimming is allowed before, but there is no swimming allowed in or around the dock area at any time. So keep that in your head. I'm sure it will be packed. You're going to have to follow your stuff. If you have a wristband, you'll be able to get in. But if you don't have one, you will have to pay a price of admission. this area right in here, I included it just because it was really interesting to me. It talked about obeying the traffic laws during training practices. Otherwise, you will be cited. So the police will be out. They will be trying to get you. So just keep that in mind and don't go crazy. Failure to do so may result in a race disqualification. That is why I thought it was super interesting when I was reading the guide. So again, just keep that in the back of your mind out on the race area when you are around the race venue. You are a guest there, so. Yeah, excuse me. Pre-running the new bike course is under construction, so I don't know if it's going to be ready in time. This is up on the race directory, so that's something you could check out in your car. You could drive it. Maybe you could see. You could check in. I'm sure they will have multiple things on the race. What is it? Back up here, the athlete briefing. I'm sure they'll have all kinds of stuff in there about this section, and if they have to reroute things, then that is what they will have to do. We're also going to talk about rerouting a little bit, so it's coming up. The bike gear bags are going to go next to your bike in the transition, and helmets must go onto the athlete's bike gear bag. No loose gear will be allowed on the ground next to the bicycles in transition. Keep that in in the back of your toolbox when you're out there. This next part talks about mandatory bike and run check-in. Make sure you do not miss those. New in 2021 here. They must check their bike in a selected time slot. So I would check in. Actually, excuse me. I would figure out where you will sign up through those email, whether it's race site, whether it's somewhere else. Just figure it out, and I would do the earlier the better, just to get your workout in. Then you get everything ready, pack your bike up, bring it in, drop it off, goodbye, out the door you go, and keep things easy and just stay out of the fray there. I would assume that since you have a time slot, things are going to be pretty orderly anyways. It's not going to be like days of old where everyone's clamoring to get in there. So with your time slot, figure out what time works best for you, and that will really help de-stress the day before race day. That'll be really, really helpful. So these are the gear bags that you will get. You get a morning clothes, bike gear, and a run bag. They're pretty, just like all the other ones. The morning clothes bag, that's the clothes. The bag you're going to put all your clothes in the morning, and then you'll give that to someone, put it in a truck, do whatever you need, or I'm sure they'll tell you, and then at the end of the race you can pick that up. Bike gear bag, come in off the swim, use your bike gear bag, and that is everything that's going to be necessary to go out on the bike course, and the run, same for the run course. Parking and transportation, I will talk about this a little bit, but I will kind of let you read this. You can pause the video and kind of read everything specifically. It's also in the athlete guide. Make sure you check the guide out too. If you want just a little more information, I have the main snippets here. So the biggest thing is going to be no spectator or athlete parking inside the state park. Pretty self-explanatory. You don't want to get trapped in there. This talks about where you can park. So this part that I put in here, the athletes, you guys, will select a time slot for the shuttle bus in the morning. So again, there's going to be a lot of self-selecting time slots here on this race course. And again, depending on how much time you need, or depending on how you think you're going to line up, and how much room you need to get things done out on race day, is going to be up to you, okay? If you are one of those people who wants to kind of cut things a little closer, and you'd be just less nervous if you could just get things done in the first transition, take the shuttle bus over. The second transition, take the shuttle bus over to the first transition, and then just hang out for like 20 or 30 minutes and get in, then that's up to you. If you are the opposite and you need more time and you need 2 or 3 hours at that transition number 1 before you race, then I would suggest an earlier time slot. But know yourself and know what you need. body marking this year. There's no body marking here. You can body mark yourself, but it is not necessary this year. You must wear your self-marked swim cap, stickered onto your helmet, and the race bib on the run. Race wristband must be worn at all times. You can check that out right there. That's all it's going to say in the body marking section anyways on the athlete guide. The swim start here. You're going to walk in groups down to the swim start based on estimated swim time. That's where you're going to hopefully self-select your own time of the swim course. Got to listen to the announcer, and they're going to call your wave, and out you go. So that'll be kind of cool and kind of interesting. You'll be swimming with people that are equivalent to you, but what that does is it kind of turns the whole race into a giant time trial. So you're not really going to know where everybody is, even more so now than in years past. Face coverings are mandatory. Transition opens at 4:45 in the morning. You won't be allowed in the transition area without your wristband, obviously, and transition closes at 6:45 a.m. And all athletes must be out and headed to the swim before that time. I put the aid stations out on here. The aid stations out on the bike are going to be at miles 13, 26, 41, 46, and this is what you're going to have this year out on the bike course. This is what you're going to have out on the run course, right in there. And this nutrition facts are these Morton gels right in here. Put these out here because they're new out on the Ironman circuit this year. Something interesting to note is they do not have any protein. They have about 25 grams of carbohydrates, which is pretty standard. But what they don't have a lot of is sodium. They have 34 milligrams of sodium. So just keep that in mind. You might need to supplement with more out on race day, depending on the weather, depending on your cramping needs. But that is probably the biggest cause of concern for these gels. You might think you're getting a lot of electrolytes and other things in there. You are getting the calcium in here. Great. But you're not getting the sodium in there, which if I were you, you might want to think about supplementing extra sodium for your for cramp avoidance and just allow those muscles to keep contracting and extending and all that good stuff. So just keep that in mind out on there. On the bike course, those aid stations are going to hand out the aid, and everyone's going to wear that personal, the PPE. On the run course, the aid stations will be self-serve. It's going to be a grab and go. What they're going to do is they're most likely going to put stuff up towards the edge of that table, and whatever's on the edge, you're going to be allowed to grab. You're not going to be allowed to grab something in the back of the table. So just keep that in mind. Don't reach across the table because that volunteer is going to have to redo everything on that table. And again, all offerings are going to be single servings. Who knows what that means when it comes to bars, whole bananas, chips, pretzels, or whatever. So you might need to take an extra second or two in that feeding area before continuing if you need additional supplementation or just more because everything's in a single serve. So cool stuff, but just keep all of that in mind on race day. This is the swim course, a clockwise loop this year. Right-handed breathers rejoice. Going to start out over here, and you're going to have pretty much three main points, point 1, point 2, and point number 3 in here. What that means for you guys is from a self-selected swim time is typically I would tell you to kind of from this area to this area, I would tell you to kind of bump it up a little bit and just kind of find your own rhythm and get away from some of the crazies. But because you don't have to do that in that section right in here, I would actually probably tell you to hold back a little bit and let other people do the work. Most people are still going to do the old style of really pushing it out in this section right in here. And if that's the case and everyone's the same swim level, you can just ride their tails and pretty much this whole way. If everyone is doing the work for you. If no one's doing the work for you, then you're going to have to be kind of going out there. But I just tell you that just to kind of listen and look to see what's happening right in there. Three big areas of clumping out on the course are these two turn buoys right here. Actually, I'll draw it a little bit better for you. Areas of clumping are right there. Same thing over here. It's a little bit before and a little bit after that turn buoy. And then at the end over here, right in this area is where the clumping up happens. So if you want to go a little bit wider, you can. There's going to be kayaks all over here and people on boards and whatnot. So they're going to limit the amount of space you can go out. This buoy right here in here are the only two buoys where you need to go on the opposite side. I didn't see anything that said you couldn't swim on the inside of these guys if you wanted to. So if you're getting pinched off, don't worry about it over there. But that is a question you should be asking at not the athlete briefing, athlete check-in. They will be able to answer that question for you. So make sure you ask it. So two different strategies. The first one, obviously I just told you could go a little bit wider up here. The second one is in this section right in here. You could kind of pick the speed up a little bit, and that will allow you to kind of get out of the fray enough to go through that turn in first, second, third of your group that you are in, that you left with, or that you caught up to. And it's always a lot easier going through the turn with only one person in front of you or at the front of an area. If you are in the back, you're kind of at the mercy of things. If you are in the back and everyone's going at a pretty good clip, then that's really, really fun, but it doesn't happen a lot just because a lot of times once you're in that group, someone always slows down and then the chain kind of breaks apart over there. So an area that you might find where you are increasing that speed again is right here if you come through this area in the back of a pack. So that's why mid-pack or front of the pack is going to be ideal because you're going to be able to drive the pace right in here. But again, if you're solo, just maintain and pretty much ignore everything I just said. And just maintain your speed around here. The same is pretty much true for this buoy right in here. If you're with a group and you want to get away from them just a little bit, don't be afraid to pick up the pace a little bit. We're talking 1 or 2 seconds per 100, not 10 seconds per 100, just to kind of get in front of them. But if you're alone or you like the group that you're with, just maintain that speed over here. And a lot of times when you are with the group, this turn area is a really great place to kind of get around someone you're not able to. Just because, again, they slow down, they don't know what's going on. And if you ever can't see right away going out of a turn, another big trick is just to follow those people, right? Eventually, you are going to have to sight, yes. But 10 strokes, 30 seconds, maybe even a minute without quite knowing where this area is coming around the turn is okay. Because, I'll draw this. So if this is our point that we're aiming for in space, right? And ideally, we make this turn right here, that straight line. That would be a straight line. But, sometimes you mess up and you're all the way out here before you realize what's going on. Even if it's not this first straight line over here, if it's kind of in the middle, if you're not really swimming over there, right? You are still swimming towards it. I mean, up until a point, right? So you are able, right? You are still going to be able to save time because you're going to be getting a draft from some of these people. You are also going to be getting like propulsion a little bit extra, saving some of those times right in there, some of those seconds. So this is okay, believe it or not, in a group setting on this line area, this circle right now. Obviously, I would love it if you were swimming straight line over there, but, things happen, and it's not the end of the world. The longer it lasts, though, the longer you take to kind of self-correct, then you're kind of gaining time that way. But a minute, 2 minutes, it's not going to be the end of the world if you're swimming over here and then you have to make a correction over that way. So So after that second turn out on course, this super technical course right here, there's going to be a couple of sight points right here. The first sight point is over here. Obviously, you can just follow the buoys over here, or think back to that triangle that we just drew up here, right? If you get to this point over here and you can see the swim start over here, right? It's going to take you a while before you really are off course. And I know that's not a straight line, but I just keep that in mind. So if you see the swim course, then you know that area intersects right around here, and you know there's an area right here you need to avoid, so just aim in between those when you are sighting way over here. Okay? And after you get closer, let me clean that up a little bit for you. And after you get to about here, it becomes a lot easier to see, and especially here. Just because things become a lot closer, and you can see them with less struggle. So yeah, rolling swim start. Watch out for the wetsuits. I copied this twice on here. I didn't realize that until now. It's gonna bother me. I expect this to be a wetsuit legal race. I know the temperatures are popping up, but last time I checked the water temperature, you don't want to know what it was. So I'm predicting it is a wetsuit legal swim. Actually, I put it right up here. Last time I checked, which was a couple days ago, it was 56 degrees. It is going to be 80 degrees this next week here, so expect that to rise, but I don't expect it to rise out of wetsuit temperatures. The bike route. There is some bike route confusion over here, and I will go to this next one and back over here. This area right in here. If you go out on the race course, I think that this is a miscue right in there, because when you go out on these satellite images, there is no road or tunnel that goes right there. So unless Ironman is planning to build that in the next couple of weeks, we will see. We will see. So because of that, I think this bike course is going to be a little bit longer. It has been in the past, so I would expect that. This is this elevation profile on the bottom is this course right in here. And so we can go. I'll go over the best bike split, specific numbers and targets in a second. But first 5 miles of the bike are primarily at a net uphill, right? So this is going to be a harder area right in here, and it's going to be very difficult for you just because it's going to be the first 5 miles, and it's coming at a net. It's coming at a net increase. And there's a good little hill right in there for you. So very easy to overdo this. And not to say that you can't recover from this, but it will definitely come back to bite you, even though it's the first 5 miles. So just take your time. Don't force the first 5 miles. You're going to be working for sure. But I would love it for you to establish yourself and even kind of take this hill a little bit easier than you want to. And then you can kind of turn up the volume a little bit, because what I would hate to have happen is for you to pummel that hill and just get up over it super quick, super aggressively, and then you spend probably 10, 15 miles recovering just from that one little hill over there. So I would avoid that going out of the first 5 miles. Just listen to yourself. Just listen to your body out there. After that, it becomes pretty easy, right? Elevation wise, and again, this is going to be up over this way, right in here. Then we got some rolling hills in here. I say that full well knowing that the elevation is about, I calculated 3,600. You'll probably calculate 34, 35 on your computer out on race day. So these hills are going to add up after a while, and they come pretty quick here. There's hills right in here. You got another incline, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so these do come at you a little bit. You get time to recover a little, but again, like the section right in here. This is a very deceiving section, because if you go up this hill and you really sky it, right, it's going to take you a little bit of time to recover, and it's not enough time before that next hill comes. So that's why the early section of this course is very, very difficult. It's not because the terrain is overly difficult. It's just because A lot of people overdo and overextend themselves in that area. And compounding this whole thing is this big giant structure off in the background. We're not quite there yet, but we will be in a minute. And you can see here, I wish I kind of zoomed in on some of this for you, but the elevation is jagged right in there. Very similar to some East Coast riding right in there, for sure. And then we kind of get into some various slightly inclined West Coast style right in here. And then we have what's on everybody's mind on this course is the big hill right in here. Okay. This area, of course, is from here to here. All right, let me do this for you really fast. Right in there. That is where the magic happens out on this course. And that can be two things. That can be magic, like your legs blowing up, you exploding, or it can be magic, like you start to pull away from some folks, you start to put some time in on other people. But if you arrive at this point right in here and you are just done, that's not magical. That's going to be pretty terrible, right? Pretty terrible, because this area of course right here is going to happen pretty quickly. We have a lot of downhill. Again, you're going to have some uphill, a little tweaks right in there, but for the most part, it's going to be a pretty fast 6, 7, 8 miles right in there. So arriving at that point, this circled spot right here, arriving there is the critical moment of the race. Because if you can do that, you're going to set yourself up for a great run. So this is just another example of the course right here with the old style in there, what I think is actually going to happen on race day. A couple of areas that you will need to be aware of is the turnaround point right in here. Also, exiting over here, I've seen a lot of collisions coming in to the out and back area over well. So anytime you're in this section of road, this strip right here, just have your head on a swivel and watch out for everyone. Watch out for everyone. This is the power plan over here. I got the distance, time, speed, average power, normalized power, and the intensity factor. So a little intense over here. And you can see straight off that this is the solid blue line is the hill. And you can see your power is going to be pretty much the most consistent right in this spot for the highest output of the day. No surprise there, but again, if you arrive at this point just crushed, then it's going to be all for naught. We're going to have another couple of sections right in there, one right in here, but for the most part, these three areas and then first 5 miles maybe are going to be the points at which your power is the highest for the longest. And you don't need me to kind of tell you that. This is pretty basic out on here. Again, you're going to have a couple spikes right at the very end. But for the most part, by and large, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas where the power is going to be really high. And one of the areas that I have not talked about yet is this spot right here. So again, don't want to crush the first 5 miles because the next 8 miles are going to be fairly consistent out on there for a higher output. Again, some of the other hills that we just circled for you, more jagged, but right there you're going to have one of your most consistent spots out on course, aside from the big hill. Wind out on race day, wind speed, we are looking at an average of about 6 miles an hour. Again, that could change. We are a couple weeks out on race day so far, so the weather hasn't really been posted yet, but this is pretty traditional out over there. And if you look, the wind is blowing from right to left, from east to west. So what that means for you is you're going to have a headwind or a crosswind. I did that terribly. Let me try that again. For the first really long section of the bike right in there. Head or crosswind. But once you kind of turn on this road, you're going to have by and large, a large tailwind. Again, you're going to have a section here, where it's going to be cross. But again, once you kind of go out of there, you have another long section where it is, by and large, a tailwind. And that's going to be really great. It's going to get you some fast times out on the race course, but again, everyone's going to be doing that as well. And you can kind of lull yourself to sleep a little bit out there. And you can get a false sense of hope, right? And what I mean by that is once you make this last turn before the big hill, you're going to have a crosswind. You're going to have a crosswind. I should have stacked this up a little bit better, but we are talking an area from about right here all the way up to about an area right here. Okay. And this is going to be a crosswind over here. So that's going to kind of eat at you a little bit. It's going to be coming from the dirty side of the bike. It's not coming from the left side of the bike. So again, that's going to be another battle for you. And if you arrive at this point super tired, you're in for a rough race. I can already tell you that right now. So just pace yourself, watch your numbers, and just maintain and stick on that hydration and nutrition, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But this is all on your race day targets out on Training Peaks, so make sure you watch those. The run, it's a one loop. Before we do that, the bike is a one loop as well. If you can't tell from the start over here and finish over here. So just wanted to remind you, the run is a one loop as well. There was a little curly Q right in here where you go underneath, you go under like a little bridge. It is a lot of bike path running back in there, so it's going to get a little tight. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think they know what quite is going to happen either. So this is the run course out there. It is a one-loop run course. Biggest areas of concern, especially coming out of transition, are these first 4 miles. Let me get my pen working again. Are these first 4 miles right in there. First 3 miles are going to be the hardest, and you will think it's over, but you have another mile to go. Most people that struggle on this race struggle for this point alone right here. If you really, really look at it on the map, you're going to be running from the green start line all the way to that big multiple circle number 4, all the way up there. That's all up, right? That's a long way to go for up. And it will wear on you after a while. Don't be afraid to kind of ease into the effort. Don't be afraid to stop and just get your bearings, recover a bit, and then keep going. A great place to do that is at these aid stations in here, okay? And again, you might need to be taking some extra time in those aid stations depending on how they are set up anyways. So it could be actually a good thing, believe it or not, that you have to take a little extra time out on the run. After you get up there, you're going to want to smash this section in here. But I caution you to do that just because if you overdo it, you have some mid-race struggles right in here, and that's going to really, really eat you. And it will get you again right in there. And then there's the last section, which we'll talk about in a minute. So instead, you should maintain that speed coming down the hill and even back off a little bit because your power is probably going to be high for those first 4 miles, at least a little bit. You know, if you can take the average, you can watch that for a little while, but your average power probably will be a little bit higher, and it's okay to kind of come off the gas for this 1.75 miles right in there. Because once this is over, it's time to work again from this point in the race, pretty much all the way up until this point, elevation-wise, right? Elevation-wise. Specific racely, right? This part is going to not feel great over there. You're probably going to struggle to find your legs, and then right when you do, the elevation's going to start to turn upwards right in here again. So the biggest thing is you just got to maintain that intake, maintain that fueling, maintain your pace. And let's say you start out, I think you're starting out at like 380, right? So 380, I believe, right? If you want to start at 350 for the first quarter mile, half a mile, and just see how it goes, that is perfect because you can always go up, right? You can always go up. But if you start out at let's call it 400. If you start out at that 400 mark and you're blasting it, you're feeling good, you go to 330 and you're only at mile 1.7 right in there, right? The only place for you to go, because you're not going to feel that great for that much longer, is down, and I'll show you after we like keep going where your numbers specifically lie and why we're doing those numbers. But just start out a little bit slower, and you will thank me in this area right in here. Now, the last real challenge of the day, and people don't often talk about this area right in here. It's downhill, right? It feels great. You're rocking and rolling from about this point right in here on the race course all the way back in. Downhill. It feels great. It's awesome. It's lovely. But you have a lot of miles in your legs. You've been going pretty hard throughout the day. And this is very similar to a Boston Marathon right in here because your quads are exploding. It's not feeling great. So make sure when you're on this section over here, your feet stay under you because the person who lets their feet land further and further out in front of them, they are going to pay for it. And those people always struggle right around this 12-mile marker over here. So keep your feet light and underneath you, and don't let them land super far out in front of you. So one big last thing to keep in mind. I actually took this from someone else. I just thought it was really, really cool. This is a hydration kind of reminder that you're doing something every 10 minutes here. Hydrating, fueling, whatever. If you want to keep everything on the 20s, 40s top, you can do that as well. But I just thought this was cool because every 10 minutes you're doing something and you don't get lost in the fray. So big things out here, maintain that consistency. This is that clock, that hydration right in here. Don't overdo things in any way, right? Nutrition or exertion. Adjust to the temperatures out there and listen to yourself. You might need a little extra water. You might need a little extra calories. If you start to shove things in kind of at Ironman level, you will kind of struggle a lot, right? But you do need something out there on race day. You could get through it with limited resources, but I caution you against that. And you really need to maintain some sort of consistency over the race for sure. Standard violations out on course over there. These yellow violations, they're not the long ones like a traditional Ironman. They're only a 30-second penalty, but you can see they add up over time. So you get a drafting violation is the 5-minute, 70.3. That's race over. Littering violation, another 5-minute penalty. Blocking violation, 30 seconds. Disqualification is a red. Okay, so make sure you know where those areas are out on course if you do pick up a drafting or an illegal pass. If you pass and it takes you longer than 25 seconds then you're headed to the penalty tent. So make sure you do not miss it, otherwise that is an automatic DQ. Mandatory bike and gear checkout, 1:45 to 5, pretty standard. They say that the athlete food area is going to be for athletes only, but we'll see what happens with that if they do it, right? Awards for this year, you're going to be able to pick your award up from 4 to 5:30 in the awards tent. It's going to be all spaced out. It's for athletes only this year, so no one else can kind of go in there. Awards are top 5 in each age group. They encourage you to download the Tracker app so you can kind of keep track of things. So if I were you, I'd finish, go get everything taken care of. And if you're there, you're there. If you're not, then you're already taking care of everything and out the door you go. But that's probably the easiest way instead of hanging around all day long. But again, up to you. Qualifying. So pretty much it is tippity top of the age group, maybe 2 slots, I believe here. Give me a second to read all this. Okay. So I believe, yeah, you get 1 slot per age group, possibly 2, depending on how many people are there. So yeah, it should be a good time. If you do end up qualifying, make sure you indicate whether you want to go to the World Championships or not. If you don't, no harm, no foul. Pick up that award, and see you next time. Okay, so I told you that I would let you know why your numbers are the way they are. So if we go over to our Training Peaks target, we are targeting 327 for that race, right in there. So if we go to our chart over here, if we go to our chart 130, here we go. So right here, our power duration curve, we've done in the last 90 days a 344, 340 mean max power output for an hour and 33 minutes. Shifting over here, right? So I know it's possible. 327, you know, we are about 10 watts into the good. But like I talked about in the last couple of slides, if it's not there on race day, it's not there on race day, and back things down. So we have a target, right? But that target shouldn't be just holding that wattage over the course of the race. It's going to need to adjust a little bit here and there. I fully realize that when you're going up a hill, yeah, it might be a little bit higher, but you also need to realize that it can't sustain there. You can't hold that pace there for an extended period of time. Otherwise, you're going to pay for that later, because this is our max output. You know, if it's there, it's there, right? No, that would be great if we set a new 90-minute power out on the race day. That would be great. Realistically, though, I don't think it's going to happen just because of the 2 things before it. But, you know, I could be wrong, but that gets to a point where you need to listen to your body out on race day and see what's going on. So I've put up what should be going on according to the numbers and according to our training and all that, right? But it's just up to you a little bit to kind of go out there, see if you can hold stuff, and if you can't, don't let that ego get in the way, okay? You back things off a little bit, because the sooner you back off, the more your body can recover and the faster you can kind of rebound from that. But the longer you ignore that emergency response, that signal that's telling you, hey, it might be a little too fast, then bad things can happen. It takes really longer to recover, and that could be potentially race over. So that is the reasoning behind that. And like I said, you know, it's definitely possible. It's definitely in there for you. I know it is. So good luck with everything, and let me know how it goes. I will be tracking you either way, and I wish you the best of luck out there. First big race of 2021. Let's do it.